Warehouses in Scrap Mechanic are a staple of the landscape. They tower over the terrain and are visible from literal kilometers away. They weren't always planned to look like this, however, and today we'll look at an old warehouse design that leaked in an update in 2017 that was refined by me and other people from the Scrap Mechanic League's Discord server. I hope you enjoy. This warehouse was originally found in the game files by Brent Batch back in 2017. If you want to watch his video about it from back in the day, the link to it will be at the end so you can watch it right after this video. Back then, the warehouse was missing many blocks and parts that we didn't have at our disposal in the game yet, such as the antenna towers at the top or the vents. Brent had put in a lot of work to estimate the size and shape of those missing parts, and he did a really good job of it. In Brent's version, all the missing blocks and parts were replaced with concrete. Nowadays we have a lot more parts of the build, and we wanted to see how the warehouse looked like post survival update. It turned out, however, that Brent no longer had the original file, and so the search was on, downloading all the versions of the game and looking for the files to try and find it. Brent provided us some info about where it was in the files, and thanks to the time frame of his original video and some more info from him, we narrowed the possible versions down to before 0.2.5 and after 0.2.0. Ultimately, I was the lucky one and found it in a test version of 0.2.4. And surely enough, a lot of previously missing things were now added. There are, however, still a few missing blocks left. The ideas of those blocks are very similar to one another, which leads me to believe that those were likely variations of one block. However, this is just a speculation. One of the blocks used in the build also has a very similar ID to those missing blocks, but it's actually in the game. That block is tiled glass. However, the glass doesn't look right where it is. There is one random floor just made out of it completely, as well as random spots here and there, which makes me think that it's not actually supposed to be glass, and that the ID was used for something else on the development version of the game where the warehouse was built. Including the glass, there are 4 blocks missing, 2 kinds of floors, some kind of a wall, and some kind of a foundation. I went back to a very old version of the game and actually found 2 blocks that were meant to be used in warehouses, the old installation block and the indestructible block. But those didn't really seem fitting with anything in the build, and blocks used a different ID system back then, so unfortunately this most likely aren't the blocks missing from the old warehouse, but we won't be able to know for sure ever, probably. There is also one missing part that appears on the antenna towers 7 times, which is most likely a satellite dish or an antenna that didn't make it into the game. There are some interesting things to note about this warehouse. The first and biggest one is that it's really similar to the rooms in the current day warehouses. For example, there are the iconic windows and the iconic shelves full of stuff. Another thing to note is that the shelf section looks really close to the old concept art of the warehouses. Note the light shining through the roof, which does not happen in the modern warehouses. The building also seems to be unfinished, as there are empty rooms and seemingly random bits just completely missing. Some parts also clearly changed over the years and don't match up anymore. I uploaded 3 versions of this warehouse to the workshop. The original file that will not spawn in unless Axolot adds the missing bits, a version that visualizes the different blocks missing, where the glass is kept as it was, the foundation is replaced with carpet, the floor is replaced with stone, the missing walls with sand, and the parts are replaced with driver seats, and a nice looking version where the glass and all missing blocks are replaced with the stone block. This was chosen because it looks normal while allowing you to see which blocks were replaced, and the missing part was replaced with rubber ducks. You might be wondering, however, why did these warehouses not make it into survival and were replaced with the modern ones? The devs actually answered that in Dev Block 12. When we first started work on buildings for survival mode, our plan was to construct them out of building parts and to do our best to ensure that they were absolutely as huge as possible. During the process of creating these buildings, we discovered that in order to make them as large as we originally imagined, it meant that we wouldn't be able to introduce them with indestructible exteriors due to technical limitations. Once again, thank you to people from the SM League's Discord, as we were working on finding this together. Like the video and subscribe for more if you enjoyed. I was Frog and I hope to see you in another one. Bye!